everyone. What the Heck's your source for Warhammer Underworlds and under 30 consecutive hours of Underworlds events in a single convention. I'm your co-host, Davy, and with me I have my battle-hardened co-hosts, of which they include Skyler. How are you, Skyler?
I'm doing well, enjoying the ember bark that Trace painted up for me over here.
Oh, yeah, those are gorgeous. Brian, how are you, Brian?
What's up, doing well, enjoying my best painted trophy.
Oh, boy.
Oh, woo.
And Zach, how are you?
Feeling good. I actually came home with multiple pieces of hardware, so I'm feeling good.
Yeah, you know, some people say hardware is not everything. I say that sometimes. So,
well, I spilled the beans to Skyler and Brian on the way back that you told me you double my pay if I came back with hardware. So,
yeah, I consider it doubled.
He goes from handshakes to hugs.
Yeah, for everybody's context, we're recording post Adepticon. It is April the 4th. We have been home for about 5 days. Recovered. Anyone catch some con crud, or do we make it through hale and hearty?
I took some con cred up to work with me.
All right.
Over here, I figured out the key. It's get sick for multiple weeks just ahead of it. And then be totally good going into it, and your immune system's ready and raring.
Pro move, love it.
I also took that route.
I will say the energy expenditure has been more than recovery has been longer than I expected. It took till Thursday, really yesterday, for me to start feeling like myself again after the energy expenditure.
Yeah. I believe it. I've had the week off, which has been nice, although we were on spring break. So most of the week has been rushing around, getting the house back in order and all that sort of thing. Boring stuff that people don't want to hear about here. But we are going to talk, as any listener might reasonably predict, about Adepticon. This won't be necessarily a blow-by-blow of all our games. We'll kind of highlight some of the fun things, exciting things, maybe a thing or two about each game or something like that. But we'll be covering that and what we learned, what we came away with. And before we get to that, we got a few community shout outs. Brian, do you want to take care of that for us?
Yeah, so just running through some events here. Next up for us locally, Q2, June 21st. That's our World Qualifying event. Hope to see you there. Know we got plenty of people traveling in, so we're excited. And then after that, our Q3 event is September 13th. That's a 3-man team tournament. So if you're planning on going to that, RSVP, let us know. Reach out to us on our Discord, and we'll start organizing teams. Outside of our own events, we have 3 other events that we've been asked to shout out, all Canadian. The first one coming up is the Alberta Classic on May 3rd, hosted by legendaric Captain Murder. That's 3 tickets available for there. That's in Alberta, Canada. Then we have the Ottawa Canadian Tabletop Championship, hosted by G. 3 tickets available there, May 23rd to the 25th. And then we have the Edmonton Open. This is the new U.S. Open Series location, June 13th to the 15th. Anticipate 1 ticket, as all the other U.S. Opens seem to be 1-ticket events. So check your calendars, check those out.
All right. Sounds good. We sometimes do what the heck is going on with you, but that's what this whole episode is about. So we're going to hop over that. Shall we get into it? Should we talk some Adepticon?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Sounds good. Go ahead.
There's one community shout out I want to end cap that with real quick. And it's a follow up from when we were talking about predictions for the con or for the Adepticon meta. We talked about how we felt like there was something there with Edge of Knife for elites, but something that we hadn't had much experience with ourselves, either piloting or against. But we figured somebody would be out there trying to crack it. And there's a great read out there from Dan Knight on Spent Glory. The article is called The Edge of the Elite Knife by Dan Knight. And I'd go give it a read. I think it's worthwhile to help take a lens change, like looking at Edge of Knife with a different lens, seeing how they can work with Iron Souls in this case.
I totally missed that. Is Dan Knight, was he, I'm trying to remember if he was part of there was like a AOS podcast with Andy for a while. I might be wrong. He actually might have been a Underworlds podcast. Dan Knight is a name that's super familiar to me. I'm gonna have to edit in myself actually thinking of the correct answer, so I sound super smart. So
smart.
Yeah. And you're so impressed, I can tell. All right. Well, Adepticon this year, Milwaukee, awesome. All that much closer.
New venue's great.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What do we think about the change in location, other than the increased convenience for us? Not that it was super hard for us to get to Chicago, but Milwaukee easier. What do we think about the setup, the hotel, the area, all that sort of thing?
Well, for one, it's massive, and like last year at the Schaumburg Renaissance, like great venue, enjoyed the heck out of that venue. But it did feel very cramped last year, and I think the numbers like were around. They estimate the people that just kind of come in and out, not just the people who bought badges that they can actually track, was around 11,000 people. And here, it did not feel super tight. It was the whole venue's massive, and then I learned that whole huge exhibit hall where the GW and the vendors and all the AMG stuff. Mm-hmm. I found out that one of those walls was still false, and they have a whole third that they can add to it. Like, we were only using 2/3 of the massive hall. Yeah. I think they were putting one of those walls together towards the very end. And I just kept on hearing these like boom as each section like slapped into place. And it felt kind of like, well, that's the vendor hall where they generally have had the vendor hall be the center, and then they throw those partitions up to seal it off so that all the merchandise is behind the walls, locked doors. But yeah, so they did that at the previous event as well. But there's a whole, that was a third of what the space we currently had that we had this year. There's a whole other third of that space that we already had behind that other wall. Yeah, nice.
It felt perfect.
Yeah, it felt really good. And I would also say that the area itself was pretty cool. If you walked outside of Schaumburg, if you wanted to kind of wander somewhere, you could wander kind of strip mall areas. And this felt like, hey, if you want to go walk and find something to eat. That was the biggest improvement, really. Yeah. Yeah. So go ahead.
I really like that with the way the space was allocated. Like, you've got the Baird Center and 4 floors of the Baird Center, which really allowed things to get divided up and feel like it was in almost like intentional spaces. I mean, there's a lot of intention that goes into that, but it really felt like things landed where they belonged. And then on top of that, the hotels that were connected to it had additional space for more events and open play and all that kind of stuff. And you could walk from one hotel through the Baird Center to another hotel. So you could walk to everything once you were in the ecosystem. And that felt really great.
Yeah. Yeah. Big fan of that whole setup. Zach, you have any thoughts?
No, I'll just echo everything you guys said. Just being able to get to food, being able to get around the con a lot easier, just with space was fantastic.
Yeah. So I'll precede this by saying that it wasn't until, I don't know, a few months out that I realized I was even going to be able to come with Emmett, because this has the classic thing of conflicting in one way or another with our spring break. But we were able to convince the families we were with to like, hey, what if we just went back on Friday? So Emmett and I drove in from Kentucky, where we did some awesome hiking, and we got in like Friday evening to our home in Madison, and it was like, hey, dude, we've pre-packed, more on that later. We've pre-packed our stuff for tomorrow, by and large, like all our model stuff. You need to go to sleep like within an hour, because you're about to be playing like a ton of games. And so I came in not having done what you guys did, which was be there another few nights and another couple days, but we were we kind of ran ourselves down with travel and hiking. So we're trying to match your energy rundown best we could. But what did you guys get up to before we got there?
We arrived Wednesday. We had a big caravan that we organized. I will say that this new venue is stricter on their carry-in policy. Previously, we were able to get a lot more through. And I heard tale of other groups and organizations that were also smuggling in, which was funny to hear that we were all kind of like, yeah, they're actually a lot tighter. So that's a kind of a bummer, but I also saw some creative ways that people were still getting stuff in. But then we got there Wednesday, we did the preview, and the preview was pretty good. I was kind of expecting another cinematic trailer because Adepticon's been spoiled for that lately, the past several years. But we got really cool reveals with Cathay. But Wednesday is pretty low key. Not a lot of events going on. Ton of painting classes, which maybe next year I'll take one up on Wednesday because the previews are cool. We got a free Space Wolf out of the deal, but yeah, and then mainly just kind of making sure everybody's there, getting the lay of the land, rally the troops. So, you guys?
Yeah, well, I don't want to put down a preview if it was previewing things that was your jam, dear listener. But for me, I was like, man, if I'm not into Old World, what's here to enjoy? Now, Old World stuff slapped. There.
Yeah.
But I had my fingers crossed, hoping for Underworlds or I don't know, just a little more like excitement to the reveals. It seemed like they led with their best foot, and it was just kind of like, oh, sure, okay, for the rest of the preview show
after that. Yeah. I feel for the Warcry guys. I thought they were due for something.
Yeah, absolutely. But on my end, it was helping out with the narrative event on Thursday with Phil. That was a blast. We can definitely talk a bit more about that. But the quick notes is that we were enthusiastically overwhelmed because we were really nervous with how much people enjoyed it. And there was a lot of really good feedback. In fact, things that we were like, duh, like obviously we should have given you better ways to track this stuff and try to make it a little bit less like accounting while playing. But for the most part, like people were willing to grin and bear through, our first attempt at it and through the like having to sit there and like find your own creative ways to track your own stats because they were just having such a fun time engaging with it. And so that was really rewarding.
Yeah, I thought a lot about that in relation to how my clash ended up going, and like just it's kind of like it's like a low stakes. It's like here, just go play Underworlds and just like purely have fun and like sure try to win, but like you're not having to worry about will I make the cut or anything like that. Like I was like that is pretty attractive to me, but then I'm sure plenty of people as is evidence there. So
well, I guess to add a comment from Vint, who his dear diary entry was, I'm really only going in for the narrative, and I know it's going to be a good time, but we'll see how it goes. He during the event, I sat down across from him after one of his games, asked him how it was going. He slides his narrative paper forward to me, and at the very top of it is how the scoring was weighted. Mm-hmm. And he circled it and said, "This is perfect. I love this." And then he wrote 1,000% above it. And what he loved so much about that was Phil said, because this was Phil's brainchild, he said, winning gets you 1 Grand Alliance point. Just winning your game, that's what it does. Every 10 glory you get in your game, regardless of whether you win, that's a Grand Alliance point. So like if you win with a 20 plus score, you're getting 3 Grand Alliance points, right? Mm-hmm. The only other way to score is to complete the personal objective that you chose for yourself out of the sheet that we had for you. you chose for yourself going into the game. Were you able to complete that objective? 3 points. So
wow.
It was worth just as much. There were times where people would lose the game and they would score more Grand Alliance points than their opponent did because maybe they grabbed 10 glory for themselves and their personal objective. And so they were getting 4 Grand Alliance points over 2 or 3, from their opponent if their opponent missed out on their personal objective, if they were able to be stopped, in that way. It was really interesting.
Let me ask you this: did anybody bring? We talked about allowing it. And I don't know if we ended up going with this. Did anybody bring any of the legacy warbands? Did those get to make a show?
Oh yeah,
I did.
Excellent.
There was a lot that did, and there was even more that were like, "Oh, if I had only realized." So Jonas was in the if I only realized camp. He brought crushes, but he's like, if I realized I had a chance to pull out another, set of models that I don't get to play with much, that I love.
Maybe those beautiful Magoras.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, our very own Alex is the only Chaos player at this event. He plays the Godsworn Hunt. I couldn't tell you which Chaos Alliance scroll he took. It's the one that focuses on Slayers. Kills to inspire. And he does not miss a beat on Grand Alliance points when it comes to scoring his personal objectives. So he actually wins out the day for Chaos, single-handedly. Yeah.
Wow. Excellent.
We had 12 participants. It was 6 in order, 3 in destruction, 2 in death, and chaos. One in chaos. So
wow. Nice.
It was quite the thing. In fact, death and chaos were neck and neck the whole time, and order and destruction kept stepping over each other, trying to break into it. It was pretty fun.
Well, that's great. Everyone I talked to enjoyed it, and they said gave a few tweaks, but that they said it was good. So I think we can build on that, and I really like that there was an Underworlds event on a different day. So if you wanted to make sure to get some in between, while you were doing other things, or if you wanted something with a different tone or tenor than a full Grand Clash, then that was available. So I'm really glad that was on tap. It's an interesting 180 from the last one we run, which was hey, here's a championship event to go beside Nemesis. And instead it was here's a narrative event, which is actually in keeping with the network we're part of. We just it's not the easiest thing to do from Underworlds.
And let me tell you, we have been cooking up ideas for next year.
Excellent. But before next year came Friday, and that was pods, right?
Yep. And I'll actually jump in here because I didn't run through my narrative experience since I actually got to play.
Go for it.
I brought Grizel, right? So Legacy Warband, and I decided to go through the Crusaders War Scroll, which involved holding tokens, which was very strange to do with them. But I'll shout out my match of the day against Jonas. It came down to the end. The last round, my whole round was charging over to a token, swinging, and then continuously walking back and forth from the sides of the board to both deny scoring, get my own scoring, and then try to get my Grand Alliance goal. And it came down to his last activation. He was sitting next to me. If he rolls a crit, he scores his cards, kills me, and wins. And if he doesn't, I win and hold the tokens and get my Grand Alliance points, and he hit the crit. But absolutely fantastic. Wow. And then Friday, I was not supposed to play in the pods, but they had an odd number. So I ran down there and said, hey, I'll at least give people games as long as they want. And the TO said, well, we'll just throw you into the tournament. If you do well, you do well. And by the end, I ended up taking the whole thing. So that was a little interesting.
So he got the hat trick. He got first in league, first in Q1, and a first place at Adepticon.
All right. Let's get an addition onto your home for all your extra hardware, I suppose. So,
yep.
Yeah.
More glass.
So pods, am I understanding there was maybe 8 to 10?
I think there was 8 of us.
Okay.
It ended up being 8.
Cool. And then on to the clash itself. Emma and I got in that morning, rolled up. And here's another thing: is parking was super easy. I remember often being stressed about parking in Schaumburg.
There's a bunch of parking garages around, so I was worried that those would be totally full up. But glad to hear it wasn't.
Yeah, we picked one that was like a 7-minute walk away. Just rolled in. We had like a space almost immediately. So nice. It was nice to come in and not be stressed out about having a rush or anything like that, and make sure Emmett was settled. He and I got to dress up a little bit, so we came rolling in. We're distinguished gentlemen for the first day, so ties and vests sort of thing.
Very nice.
He was like, I complimented his bolo, but I don't think I used the name at the time. Like, I didn't say bolo.
Yeah.
Like I just pointed to it and was like, nice, sort of a deal. And he like caught up to me because he was a good few paces back and was like, holding in his hand, and he's like, it's a bolo. I was in Boy Scouts for a minute, so I know what a bolo is. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah,
very dapper looking gentleman right there.
he did some shopping. He found one that had an E on it for his name, so he was rocking the E bolo. What did we end up with a player count for the event? Does anyone have that to hand?
It was 29, I believe.
29. Okay.
It was so close. I've been wanting to break 30 in the States, specifically 32.
Yeah.
Obviously ever since the pandemic, and I thought this was going to be it. I thought it.
I guess we should have brought even more people, because I think Madison must have been like a third of the field, just about.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we were short three members because they weren't able to make it due to a family thing, unfortunately. So we
and unfortunately Damien had a we missed you, Damien.
Yeah.
Shout out Damien.
But 29 rolling up and launch in. The first day was going to be 4 matches. Each one is a best of 3, correct? So,
yep.
And thankfully we got ourselves all sorted out where we got our club names in, so we didn't have to play each other immediately, but it was inevitably going to happen. So day 1, we get set up. I know Emmett's all ready to go. He's bringing, as a reminder, I guess, since folks may have missed previous episodes, and I hadn't even committed, but I ended up bringing, the idea was to bring a modification of Zach Newcomb's Cherokee Open build. And I kind of fell into this because I had been trying a bunch of different things and then practiced this a little bit and then ran out of time to practice. And so it was the most recent thing I played. I'd made a few modifications. Zach, I'm sure, uses this card very well, but he's got Earth Splitting Tread in there, which, man, do I hate that card.
Same.
I do not think I ever triggered it I either like got it at the wrong time or would apply it at the wrong time. So, there's definitely user error there. But I was excited to have thrown that out of my deck. My first game, I drew Brandon, he actually teaches it in his local, but doesn't have as many reps as the rest of us. So we moved a little bit slower, kind of talked through a few concepts, and I was able to kind of stay fairly comfortably ahead on that one. He was using Eltharis, which I realized that, Skyler, I've played you with Eltharis, and I realized I'm like, I still don't totally remember what all their abilities are. And then once I kind of read them over again, I was like, this is horrifying to play against, because there's like 4 absolute banger abilities available like throughout every round.
Hell yeah, there is.
Yeah. And so every round where somebody would use one, I'd be like, oh, thank God I don't have to think about that anymore. So so that was my first round. I kind of got out of there with a pretty healthy score, a win to start things off. And Brandon was a super cool guy. Got to enjoy that game. Zach, who'd you play first round?
Well, so before the tournament, I go around talking to everybody. I talked to Mark from Path to Glory because he and I had played at Nova and was like, "Hey, man, good to see you. Hopefully, I don't have to see you until tomorrow or at least later today." And sure enough, first round, I got Mark. First,
what were you bringing again?
I played Headsman's Curse with Cataclysm and Blazing Assault.
Nice. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you guys you're running up against Mark, and he has brought his Kanan's Reapers.
Yep. So I see that and I go, well, if there's anybody that can come in and bring Kanan and do well, I would put Mark right at the top of that list. So I was a little nervous going into that. We had a very cagey game 1 that I just barely squeaked out, and then game 2 I took Kanan down at some point and just felt like it went my way. So felt pretty good coming out of it with a 2-0, and like, well, that was my toughest matchup of the day. I already know it, so I'm good to go here.
Nice.
Set Mark up on the submarine path.
I know.
Well, then, Brian, who'd you get for round 1?
I was delighted to finally get paired up against Jonas. I've not been able to play against him before. I was bringing my grandfather's gardeners with Emberstone Sentinels and Pillage and Plunder. Mm-hmm. Felt really practiced into that. And then Jonas, not only was I finally able to play against Jonas, I was finally able to play against Morgoth's Crushes, which he brought. And of course he gave them that great like Blanchitsu, like checker pattern orc, bright red, bright yellow style. So his models look great.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Game 1, I managed to squeak out. Or game 1, I don't know. I felt it was really good counterplay back and forth, but I managed to win that one. And then game 2, I guess they just crushed. And I was sitting there like, I feel like I'm playing well, but I'm just getting eliminated, and my options were limited. And so we ended up tying, but we went to time. And so it was like just 2 games, and we're like, yeah, let's not do a rushed third in like the 10 minutes remaining. Interesting conversation wise, like best of 2s versus best of 3s. And he had played best of 2s at a local event over in where he's from. And I was like, yeah, let's just do that. We'll just take the tie instead of, rushing to see who gets more surges in game 3. So it was a great game, very amicable, and it was good. Delightful game, delightful guy.
Agree. Skyler, what'd you get for round 1?
Yeah, for round 1, I was playing against G. So this is my first time meeting G. G's recently into the game. Was playing Dread Pageant and was playing so he had mentioned that his boyfriend had painted his Dread Pageant for him, and that they matched his greater AOS army. And I'm so curious to see what this AOS army was, because they were done like cookies. So for example, Glazette was the Thin Mint, which meant she had like essentially dark skin and like jade armor and weapon, and nice. She looked incredible. Like, I'd love to actually just see her done up, with that scheme, and see where that extrapolates to, the other fighters as well. Where instead, here they have their own thing with sprinkles, like cookie sprinkles on their bases. And like Slake Slash was like the frosted oatmeal cookie.
Wow.
Disturbing.
But when I sat down against them, I immediately thought to myself, I've heard this warband in conversation. I'm really curious about this warband. I have not seen it reprised by Brian or had the privilege of seeing it across the table from me at all up until this moment. So it's like, okay, how is this going to work out? And the first game, G really put the screws to me. First game ended 22-21, so it was that close. Like, I barely eked it out in third end phase. And I just remember feeling like, if it keeps up like this, I don't know if this match goes my way. And one of the things that was driving it was he really wanted to push his Cataclysm value up to increase the chances at the pings. And he was talking about how he really likes the relationship with the pings in Cataclysm and the Dread Pageant, because he said early game they help with inspiration and with ability control, and late game they're powerhouses of reliability because the Cataclysm value is hopefully so high. And so he can really use them to like execution his way through the end of a game there. So it was really cool to see this warband in action. And I was really nervous, but I ended up winning this one out in 2 as well.
Nice. That meant that we entered the next round, and our fratricide armor was now off. So it was possible to play against our locals, which I immediately did. I drew Wellner, who had also played at the last clash I was at in Nova. He was running his Loon Court, which I had only run up against once. And I'll be honest, there's so much writing on that War Scroll that he starts explaining at the beginning, and I'm like, just tell me what's happening when it happens. Like, I don't have enough bandwidth to try and keep track of like what your quests are doing. So
I've started messing around with them, and it is bizarre.
Yeah,
I understand it now. It's still bizarre. It's a completely unique War Scroll.
Yeah, I'll just trust you to like play it correctly, and that's fine. We'd played this matchup once before. I'd gotten the better of them with the Thundrix, same Thundrix, this rack and ruin and pillage and plunder build that I was running. And as I mentioned earlier, it was supposed to be modified from Zach Newcomb's build. In that first game, I was the first match, I was distracted enough where I was kind of helping a less experienced player through a little bit. And somehow, like, I just didn't notice. And in this game, I was like, that's weird. He's scoring Torn Landscape. I must have bottom decked it because I haven't seen it yet. And you get to the bottom, I'm like, I don't have Torn Landscape in here. And then this, he won that one by a glory, I think, 15-14, something like that. In the second game, that's when I finally saw for the first time in this tournament that hated card of mine, Earth Shattering Tread. And I was like, what is this doing in here? And then realized that the changes I had made on Vassal and never actually physically swapped the cards. So I was running with a deck that was a couple iterations out of date from what I had most recently like really kind of practiced and felt really good about. So that was
pour one out for Davy.
Yeah. I was like, well, that's on me. I mean, that's just kind of a side effect of having come straight from spring break to this. I just didn't have time to kind of double check everything. But
I'd like to capture for our listeners real quick why you and I hate Earth Splitting Tread, because you run Alone in the Dark, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So especially if you run Alone in the Dark, Earth Splitting Tread works directly against it. It says that you have to apply this card, and sometimes this is a pain to remember as well, but with practice, you can make perfect here. You have to apply it before your final turn, because as soon as you take that action step, before you get into power, that's when it goes off. But so you have to be adjacent to somebody, but it can't kill them. It can only ping a non-vulnerable fighter. So by nature, it says get close to somebody and then don't kill them and then be stuck next to them for scoring. And so it works directly against Alone in the Dark and very often just feels like it does nothing.
Yeah. I think, again, better practice, better play, which I will say Zach's a better player in general than I am, and then better with this specifically. I think he's probably setting it up, getting that ping, using a push to retreat back or managing it well. I was not able to do that almost ever.
It's a better card in round 1 and 2 to help you set up kills.
Yeah, well, and it's effectively nothing in round 3 because you can't kill somebody with it. Like there's super edge cases where somehow you haven't scored bloody and bruised yet, and that needs to be the third person wound. I don't know, it's wild. Anyway, so I was like, okay, well, hard mode it is for this tournament. I will be playing not on the thing I thought I'd practiced. I managed to take down Wellner the next round. I think also by 1, we just kind of flipped it like 14-15 and 16-15 or something like that. And then we go into the third game, And here is where I would say I made my biggest blunder, other than bringing the wrong deck at the tournament, is that I drew a pretty rough opening objective hand. Is like one OK Surge and then a couple of end phases, mulliganed into 3 end phases, which is super bad for me. Or basically I mulliganed into a real bad hand and then for whatever reason held it for another round. And so I went basically until the 3rd round before I was really scoring anything. And it was the first action step of the second round. I was like, I don't know if I just blanked and forgot that to discard, or if I don't know what possessed me to hold on to these, but it was kind of from the second round. It's like, I don't think I have a way forward. Like there's mathematically, I will have to like go on fire and hit every single attack, and he'll have to miss everything for me to even have a chance to keep pace. And that didn't happen. So I went down to 1-1. But while I was tripping all over myself, what were you doing, Zach?
Well, continuing on theme of games we could have just played if we had stayed home, I ended up paired against Emmett in the second round. This was a matchup we and I have played a couple times. If we hadn't split 50-50 before this, it was darn close. So not feeling real confident into that. Game 1, I was able to take out, I think, 8 of the gets, so I was feeling pretty good.
I remember this because he was. You guys were pointing out the ruling. It might have been this. Was this the game that it happened where? Because he was like, there's the if effects don't specify, then they only last for 1 round. So technically, the fact that the last 2 gets go down to 0 glory, or 0 bounty, they go back up to 1 bounty in the 3rd round. And he was like, I just learned about that, and it took effect almost immediately. And this might have been that. I don't know how fast you killed him.
I think I got through 6 in the first 2 rounds, so I didn't quite get to activate it. Right. But then I got through 2 more in the last one, and just able to get through my deck. And then game 2, kind of the opposite. At least at a certain point, I would kill a couple, and then couldn't get the dice to cooperate in any way, shape, or form. So he ended up taking that one from me. I think 21-18, so by a glory or 2. So it was super close. And then similar to Brian in the first round, we just didn't have enough time that we felt like we could get through any meaningful part of a game 3. So we called it a tie there, and just hope that wouldn't screw anybody up later on with the standings.
Sure. Brian, what were you doing at this time?
My game 2 was against Robert. It's all coming back to me. This was, so I as we'll see, my day 1, I wound up fighting against all the boogeymen that I feared going into Adepticon of matchup wise. I tried to do my best to prepare for, and this one was Robert playing headsman. Robert was a local of George from Pet to Glory, and gave him kind of a rundown on gardeners, but I could tell he wasn't too familiar. So I tried to, any of my opponents who haven't studied up on gardeners, I tried to give the brief and tell them exactly where the kind of like the gotchas and the catches, negative play experience, heal scenarios happen. Yeah. But we played headsman gardeners, and I think he was Blazing Kata, and basically won that one 2-0. He was having some bad luck. I'm really practiced at gardeners. He was, I gave him a few, hey, I don't think this attack would go the way you expect. And, he'd pivot, but then if he forgot again, I wasn't going to remind him every time. But game 2, really, he had a lot, really bad luck. But not to knock his abilities, I'm sure he's gotten plenty of reps into what George is bringing, but I don't think he was getting enough preparation for gardeners. And I did see that quite a bit. And like I had said in my Dear Diary is, if people don't practice gardeners, they are the warband that requires the most practice and learning curve from the opponent. And certain matchups, I definitely felt the reward of that go in my favor.
And Skyler, how about you?
Yeah, for game 2, it was an exciting time to be able to grab a game with Craig. Craig and I have, Craig's from the East Coast, and I first met him at Nova when he was first getting into the game, and we had a pre-nerf Gnarl Spirit Pack game versus a Soul Raid game piloted by me.
If I may, like you guys were setting up for this game, and Craig's like, "Yeah, you and me need to play." I was like, "We've played back in Nova," and I was like, "He's like, oh, did we?" I was like, "Yeah, but like like you're a totally different person now because like you were still kind of reserved, and the whole time I was sussing you out whether or not you had asked that beta question purposefully the whole time because I absolutely feared that matchup because I was playing Ephilems and I was just like, oh, and I was like sussing him out, and he was reserved, he was new to the community, and but by the end of it, I was like, no, he genuinely wasn't looking for an advantage here. He didn't understand, and but since then, like I said, it's been great to see him play. So I'd love to play against Craig again now that he's really I don't know, acclimatized to the community, and like really kind of like he feels like a totally different person from when I first played him.
I love playing games with Craig. I love seeing Craig. Yeah. He is extremely well-minded in the game, and he's got a sense of humor that will make every game an absolute joy. Real quick, mentioning the game in Nova that we shared when we first met, we both actually told the tale of that game on podcasts. He was a guest on Path to Glory, and we both had very different takeaways from our enjoyment of that game. I was really excited for playing KG and like breaking through the Gnarl Spirit puzzle and actually like coming out of that match with a win and sweating the whole time, right? And he on the Path to Glory podcast was like, he was playing a control build and he was like holding himself back and was playing cards that was like, you don't get to play right now. And he was like, and that's just not what I enjoy. So we had very different takeaways from that game, but mutually we both really enjoyed that game together. Got to hang out a bunch at Worlds, and get to know the people more behind the games. Spent a lot of time just getting to know Craig. So when he came up to me and said that he was my game too, we were immediately all smiles, but he let me know that he was going to take me down this time, and so he was playing. I
swear,
he was playing Emberwatch with Pillage and Plunder, and I guess I forgot to call out what I was playing when I recap my first game. But for those who don't know, I was playing Ilthari with Rack and Ruin and Pillage. So we have a bit of a Pillage mirror here. In fact, I think he's playing Pillage and Kata. I actually wrote, so when I took my notes, I would write like one word and another one word from the other pairing. And this is the only place I wrote Pillage and Plunder. So
you got it.
Real helpful.
So I think the other part of his pairing was Countdown. But we had a blast. The second game was not going well for him. And so he asked me to let people know that it was really close. We went to 6 tiebreakers on that one. And another thing he said during the course of that game that was wonderful was he kind of leaned over to you, Davy. You were next to us, and he goes, he drew his new hand. He goes, he's like, that's a pretty good hand when you view it from the point of view of it's synchronizing well with nothing working. Or something like that. So Craig, you're a gem. You've since messaged me and told me that the next time we meet, you'll take me down. And I trust it. And I'm looking forward to it.
All right. I definitely, I've yet to play him. Emmett's played him, but I have not. I'd love to get him on one of these. That brings us around to the third match of the day. I got Genevieve. Genevieve had been talked into playing by her friends. So I think by the time I saw her, she was on her maybe second game ever. She got the bye of the first round to learn how to play the game. So that's exciting for her. She had Crimson Court. We actually had a fairly close game in the first round, and in the second game of the match, I think she literally hit one attack over the course of the entire game. It was such a weird thing I'm used to like being down to like a couple guys by the end, and like round 3, I was like, literally everybody's alive, and like there's all these vampires standing around who are just, I don't know, combing my hair. I can't figure out what they're doing. Like they're not having a good outing of it. So that was one where I was like, oh man, I should probably, like, this has gone so lopsided dice wise. Like maybe we should just call it good. And she's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, all right, cool. So that hopped me back up to 2-1. Had a good time with that, and went to go look what everyone else had done at that time. So I think it's back to you, Zach.
Yeah. So round 3, someone I had played. Not locally, but I had seen twice already during Adepticon. I played Jonas in round 3. We had played at the narrative event, and then at Pods on the Friday, and then again on Saturday. So it was just all Jonas all the time for me. As mentioned, he brought Morgok with the Barf combo. So never an easy matchup, but kind of the thing I was preparing to beat, right? Elite fighters, I can do 4 or 5 damage at a time. Oh, and on the Friday, I had actually tabled him in round 1.
Okay.
So
what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Gross.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I was feeling pretty good about this, and I was like, well, but it might be his time to shine now. So it ended up I think I crit defended an early attack, and I was able to stand fast, not lose the wielder early, and took him down. First game pretty close within a couple glory, and then the second game kind of went the same way the Friday games went, where I was just able to get a lot of damage out early and stop what he was trying to do.
Cool.
Brutal.
Yeah. Brian, in round 3, did you table somebody immediately?
No, I don't think. I'd be curious to see if anybody has tabled the Gits, but I had to face your boy, and
I tried.
That was one of my hardest games. That match. It was precisely the boogeyman that I feared going into Adepticon. I was grateful that we didn't see a lot of it to really like define the event. But it was Pillage and Cataclysm Gits. Game 1, I felt like I had a pretty strong lead the whole time, and I was keeping a pace and trying to counter as much as I could. Felt really good. And I was like, all right, I win with 21. He's like, we're tied. I was like, huh? Like 6 glory end phase. I was like, and count the tokens. And he was on 3, but my 2 were cumulatively more.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my God. And that was like me setting up boards, and I thought I had like set it up really advantageous. So I was like, oh no, game 2. Like, and we had burned a lot of time on that game 1. And I was like, oh no, like if now he's setting up boards, and it doesn't matter a whole lot more, but it did. And I was like, man, I really need to like push through game 2 if I want to have a backup round 3 if I need be, if he's going to be able to still pull out, because there's that pairing surges are so undeniable, and then the end phases, like you gotta deny 1 and really need to deny 2 end phase. You gotta deny strip, and I lost track of what he did score on me in game 1. I don't think I gave him strip, but
he's not running it actually. So
yeah. So game 2, sweating it out, and then unfortunately, like we were getting through, and I was like, time wise, I'm not getting a third. I got to win this, or else I'm tying again. It was really tight. But I did take it just by like 1 point, 1 or 2 points, and I was just like, oh dear Lord. It was really good. Great games, Emmett. Your boy's still a kid, and sometimes he brings the like, I'm just having fun, I'm here to play. Like, he's playing a game, and sometimes he can bring like a really powerful combo, and you're like, okay, which Emmett am I going to get? Because sometimes he's just like, yeah, I'm here to smash you. Like, I'm just going to play. Like, and he just puts his Davy face on, and it's just like, oh, God. He brought his Davy face for that, and I was just lucky that I had broken through a bout of cold dice when I needed to, and I started getting kills, making his scoring a little bit harder in the process, so it was like able to slow. And yeah, it was my hardest matchup of the day. It was really well played, Emmett.
Yeah, you talk about that Six Glory end phase. He has this move where like when he's scored a really big end phase, he will like almost like toss his end phase card like objectives in an arc, and like and I'll see them leave his hand. I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble. Like this means he scored the whole grip. Like that's what he's doing it with a little flair there.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay, cool. Skyler, what were you up to?
Yeah, so for game round 3, I was up against Lucas. Lucas is a seasoned Adepticon veteran. However, this was his first foray into Grand Clashes for Underworlds. He said at one point in time that he really was enjoying the community in the game. So shout out to all of you that continue to make this the best community in wargaming.
Yeah, I'll hop in because I played Lucas next round. He said that Underworlds is his organized play game, like it's his convention game or something. It just like doesn't play it outside of like going to a convention, which makes things even more impressive.
Yeah,
but,
we had a similar conversation, and I wholeheartedly agree. Like lugging around a whole Warhammer army is so fraught with peril of like models breaking and all that. I saw a madman out there who had a drink carrier for like Chick-fil-A, and in each drink holder, I don't know how they fit, but he had a greater demon model. I'm like, what are you doing? That is not providing any sort of like safety. And I'm pretty sure you're inebriated, sir. Like I fear for those models.
Well,
Skyler, Lucas.
Lucas was playing Jaws with Countdown and Blazing Assault.
Yeah.
So Jaws is, and I've mentioned this before. I don't know if I mentioned this on the pod, but I've definitely mentioned this to a lot of you. Jaws is one of my favorite matchups when I'm playing Iltharis. I just have that matchup on lock. I feel like I have enough movement tricks to be able to really put them out. Like I can bait them into one-sided, especially when I'm playing with pillage, bait them into one side of the board, flip myself over to the other, and then, take care of what I need to over there. You can also, if you have to go the Everdusk route, you can really take them down. And what's really rude is you can ping the snakes. And I run trapped cache. So what I'll do is generally you want to keep the snakes alive in a Jaws matchup. But with the Guardians, if you can get 3 cards out seated in front of you, and then you can just, with a power card, trapped cache away the snakes, it's going to instantly grow all 3 cards faster. You're going to get inspired faster and have options in hand faster as well. So that is something that I was planning to do. But this madman had different plans. He brought the snakes forward, and I think I might have pinged them in one of the games, but in I think the first game, he brought them to the center, which is where we were kind of hanging out. It was just kind of where the game was. And he just did this massive sundering realm with the intention of, I'm charged outside of my snakes.
Yeah. I'm going to kill my own snakes.
I brought them in here just to kill them for my next turn, so that like we're ready to go with another unexpected lizard right now, sort of deal. It pinged them, and I was like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. So he piloted Jaws and towards his own objectives incredibly well. I think the only reason I win out this game, despite my confidence against Jaws, because the first game ends 19-15, but the difference there is simply like a 6 or 7 glory end phase for me in final end phase, like where I'm able to tip it over. And he said something along the lines of, he had a lack of familiarity with the decks he was across the table from outside of the ones that he himself was bringing. Yeah. And I think with a little more familiarity, that game does not go my way. So I felt really lucky because I think that game 1 could have easily been Lucas's. And then game 2, I played very coy, which I tend to do against them and try to give them very little options, try to make it so somebody eventually has a move token instead of a charge token, because that's all I let them do. And was able to take that one 2-0 as well then as a result. What I want to say one other thing real quick is that because I want to return the compliment, is he said one of the nicest things that somebody's ever said to me during a match, and it was that like he paused the game that we were playing to say, hey, I just want to take a moment to say I really appreciate how clean you're playing. He goes, because I fully understand everything you're doing because you're communicating it so clearly in where you're putting things in game state. You're talking me through to the point where I'm able to just enjoy this game instead of worrying about, is my opponent playing correctly? And he was playing likewise. And so we both just really got to enjoy like a no stress of like, is the other side of the table playing their stuff correctly? Do I need to worry like they shouldn't have scored that, or that ability doesn't work that way, or anything like that? It was just a very, very clean played game, and that felt really cool.
Well, unfortunately for me, you gave him a little more familiarity with Pillage and Plunder, Reckless Fury, or not Rack and Ruin, Pillage and Plunder, Rack and Ruin, because I had him the very next round with the same deck pairing, and set up. He was not super familiar with Thundrix, but it was similar. Where like it was a really clean game on both sides, I think. And the first game I thought I was in control of, and then he landed a big end phase at the end and took it by 2. But I was still feeling pretty good. I was like, I understand this matchup. I think I can make this happen. I think I'll just adjust a few things. I'm good. I still feel good about this. The low model count helped some of the Rack and Ruin positional objectives score. We're okay. And took that confidence a little too far. And I said, I was like, I don't see how much damage he can do if I give him the first turn. So he can have the first turn. That'll give me the chance of the double, give me this positioning option at the very end. He used his first turn to get some Sea Glory with the get stuck in, the kind of gimme surge. And then before I had taken my second action, Thundrick was dead with nobody inspired. So because he had a commanding stride, sidestep, twist the knife. Maybe he had the determined effort as well, but it was basically his boss, Crojax.
Like, Brian, Davy, how do you inspire then?
I don't.
Oh no,
I don't. The irony was that like I'd gotten a little worried about Grimwatch. It's like, I don't like running these warbands that like key off of one single fighter. And I was like, I don't know why I thought Thundrick wasn't one of those. It's just I would lose Thundrick so infrequently that it didn't seem as possible. Anyway, so I was like, well, I'm down 1-0. I cannot inspire this game. One of my key pieces is already dead. This is hard mode, but let's just see what I can do. And so this is the game I'm actually proudest of. I brought it all the way back, and he had to win it on tiebreakers. I got to 20-20. And I think I fought the last round with just Allenson running around, like chopping people with his saber and shooting them with his tiny pistol. So that felt pretty amazing to fight back so hard and make him sweat after that like really catastrophic start to the game. So I finished out the day at 500 and obviously missed the cut.
He came up to me after that game. Yeah. And I didn't know who he played yet. And I was like, how did it go? And his face immediately went apologetic. And he was just like, I want to preface this with these scores do not do justice to how close those games were. And then he said something about Thundrix. And I was like, oh, Davy.
Yeah. So he took it 2-0, and there was like a 2 glory differential, which was pretty tight. So, it was good. He was a really cool guy. I was glad to meet him.
Yeah.
Zach, how did you finish your day one?
So going into the last round, I'm sitting at 2-0-1. I'm like, man, I need to win, and I'll be in the top 8. It'll be okay. I don't need to worry about anybody else. Their results over there. Don't need to worry about anything. Like we'll see where I get paired up, who I get. And I look at the pairing, and I go, oh god, it's Skyler. Uh-oh.
And this game shapes destiny.
Oh man,
because it depends on which side of the bracket we're going to end up on the next day.
Yep. So I need a win to get in. Skyler's probably already in. He's probably got a good strength of schedule. Even if I beat him, he'll be okay. But I said, Skyler, you better not give me this one. And boy, did he not give it to me. No. So I think both games he comes in looking for a kill shot on the Wielder. Wielder has either 1 or no damage on him at the time. And I think both games you roll like a crit in 2 or a crit in 1. And I'm like, well, guess I need to double crit here. And sure enough, go to roll it, double crit.
Yeah, couldn't believe it. There was the one that was going to do all 5 damage to the Wielder. I put Vicious Intent into it. So I'm rolling 4 or 5 dice for this attack for 5 damage. And I'm like, let's go. I'm bringing you down. I think it was Glory Seeker plus 2 from Everdusk. And got that crit in those successes. And I said something like, well, double crit's the only thing that'll save you. And I don't know why I said that out loud and put that into the world. Because you rolled a double crit and we both about stand up from out of our seats, like screaming with energy.
Both of us stopped and went. We like looked at each other, looked back down at the dice. Is that really what those are? Those 2 crits over there? And sure enough,
no. That you're thinking of the other moment.
Oh, that was the other one.
Yeah. So we had a lot of energy after the double crit roll. That was incredible. The other one was I had Ensnare, and I was coming in for 3 damage, I think, against the Wielder with 3 or 4 dice, and threw those and landed no successes whatsoever. So you didn't even have to roll your dice. And we just kind of looked at each other, looked back at the dice, looked at each other, pulled them out of the dice tray. It was like, well, carry on, ghostly gentlemen. I definitely wasn't trying to axe you into oblivion.
Yeah, so I end up taking both of those. I have it down as by 5 each, but certainly could have gone the other way with a single different dice result. So I absolutely feel earned into the finals and feeling good after that.
Yeah,
nice.
No, they were really great games, and
yes,
with aggro like that, sometimes it does come down to a good dice roll when, especially like it felt like across those games we were keeping pace with each other, and we were like there was an answer to everything that each other was doing. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, like when that answer hinges on dice, you then have to adapt. And we were still keeping those games close, I guess is what I want to say, regardless of, attacks that went poorly for you and attacks that went poorly for me. It was, a hell of a set, and you definitely earned it. Going into it, I also remember telling you that I want you to beat the crap out of me. And the reason for this is because I've had a couple different events now where I've gone undefeated on day 1 and then lost immediately on day 2 and have referred to it as my day 2 curse. And so I was like, maybe if you beat the crap out of me right now, it'll break the curse in advance. So
I tried, Skyler. I tried.
Thank you.
Yep. So Brian, you're the only one we haven't heard of for the final game of day 1. What'd you end up with?
Yeah, so round 4, I was tie, win, and then for my 4th round, I went up against 80. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
Help me out.
You pronounced it correctly. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. I was corrected from Addy, but it's 80. So 80 with Borget's Beast Grabbas, Pillage and Plunder, and I believe Cataclysm. And again, another boogeyman, another something that I feared because of the amount of cleave from the troll and sometimes Uglug I just can't bring down.
And to give 80 an entrance here, she'd already taken down the Professor and his Gorehulk.
Yeah. I was sitting next to him while that was happening. It was kind of incredible.
Oh, I didn't know that. So something that I'd been practicing all this lead up, like two things particularly, like I was playing into Skyler and all the different variations he was playing with his 2 warbands, and then Bobby with his Borgets. So I was very prepared for Borgets in the way that Bobby ran them, but not necessarily Pillage and Cataclysm, because Bobby ran it in a similar way that I would run it. And very interesting matches. She played some plays that I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I think I'm being clever with Canny Sap or whatever, and then she's just like, I'm going to sidestep onto the objective that you were just teleporting to, and I was like, yeah. So there was some cool counterplay there. I didn't have any luck taking down Uglug in either of our games, so I was at the mercy of the troll, and I was just doing all of my Gardener's heal shenanigans and defense to just weather the storm. Both games were very close. I think the glory differential was minute, but I think it was like a 2-point glory differential for me the first game, and then a 1 point the next game.
Wow!
So it was very skin of my teeth. So very well played by 80. That was intense. Very good matches. Yeah.
Awesome.
I can't say that I had like a brilliant move because like the Canny Sapper move was gonna be the brilliant move, but then she just like thwarted it, unfortunately. But yeah, it was good. It was very good opponent, enjoyable games.
Cool.
Ryan, Canny Sapper, 80. Oh, neat. I'm gonna go here, Ryan.
Bro, I tried. Like, I made a swap for like Glory Seeker into Canny Sapper in testing because it's just so versatile. It's such a good card, and I don't need necessarily the damage, but I swear for like 4 games in a row, Canny Sapper was at the bottom of my deck. Like, like you're not going to be able to get the practice with me. And it showed. I made, there were so many times Canny Sapper just sat on a fighter because I just didn't have the practice of knowing when a really clever play was, kind of like seeing my warband in that versatile way, or even just having the ploy card banked to use it. Mm-hmm. Having something like explosive charges where I don't need to just play that in the first round, but I would. And then I'd be like, oh, Candy Zapper's just right there. Like I could have just banked it. So that was a skill cost. Yeah.
I still think that card is worth having like a glory cap, like gate, like Candy Sapper costing like 1 or 2 as like a gate to it.
Yeah.
But I think we underestimated when we first evaluated that card how much that holding like a ploy to trigger it.
Yeah.
And
because it is a combo card essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. Like, and it's super strong. I love that card. But every once in a while you end up with like a surge ploy in your hand and you're like, wait a minute, this isn't going to do anything.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I've had that more than once. So yeah, or using a really important ploy at a bad time is equally frustrating or complicated. But when it's great, and it's great a lot of the time. Yeah. So how are we feeling at the end of that first day?
I was feeling pretty good. Tie and 3 wins. I was like, I don't know brackets all that well, but I think I'm in. And I didn't really, because I felt bad day one because all of my games were 2 matches. I didn't have a third game. I was trying to press for time, and I was like, shoot, I'm really not. I felt bad because I felt like I wasn't giving myself or my opponent an opportunity for that third game. But it was like the games were that intense and that thought-provoking. And so I was like really trying to push myself to get faster. And every time we were going to time, I was just like, dang it. Like, got to practice more time on a clock.
Yeah. Stuff.
So I had no time to walk around and interact with opponents. I had no idea how the rest of the field was looking at all. So everybody else told me who was making it a top 8. And then I was like, I'll leave it at that before we get into prep for day 2.
Yeah, I just had a blast for the first day. And nerves going to bed that night. I started doing a trick at Worlds where I think Alberta Clash was the first time I did this, but I did this all the time at Worlds where I took 2 melatonin like gummies before I went to bed just to like help me sleep, because going into a subsequent day of tournaments, I get so in my head I can't sleep. I'm just I've got anxiety, I've got Christmas energy, I've got like a brain that wants to like go through 1,000 different like timeline interpretations of how the next day could go, from like matchups and like how I'm going to do against them, and also, do you remember when you did this terrible play today? I hope you don't do that tomorrow. So that's something that Brian taught me at one point in time, was that's just a good sleep aid. It's pretty much the only way I can get good rest going into like a second day. So I did that and was even still surprised. Like an hour later, I hadn't conked out yet. I was my brain was still rapid firing, because we saw where everybody landed in like a seed, for the top 8 cut.
Mm-hmm.
And so it landed where I was either 4th or 5th going into day 2. I think it was 4th. And George was the other side of that coin. And last Adepticon, I woke up and lost to my own mistakes against George on day 2. So I was like, I get to wake up and do this again. I hope I play better, than I did last year. Waking up with a headache and not enough time to like get through that headache, and feeling kind of groggy going to that first game, not being happy with my performance. So just wanted to do that, but also wanted to be a pal and help Brian like dismantle his Titanicus stuff. Like I was still up till like 11:30 the night before. I was like, man, I wish I was asleep already. It was a really good night.
Yeah, it's double melatonin was definitely keep making the sleep as little a factor as it would normally be. Just being able to guarantee yourself to fall asleep and not have your mind racing, keeping you awake at night was also a clutch play in my world as well, because we weren't staying in the same room. And I was also running a Titanicus event on Thursday, and during day 1, the Saturday was the second event for my Titanicus thing. And funny anecdote, but during game 1 against Jonas, I was getting blown up on my phone from my my lieutenant for the Titanicus event, who was like, they put a freaking boba tea stand where our game is supposed to be.
Oh boy.
And I was like, oh god, like I'm playing against Jonas. I was like, luckily the event is in the evening, and so I had like all day almost to try and rectify the situation. I'm just like, I'm in a tournament, man. Like I'll do what I can, but I'm gonna have to send messages up the tree and hope it gets high up enough to where we can get that boba tea stand moved. And then like in between games, I talk to people and then I run over. So like already my games are going to time. And then in between that, I'm like, there's a boba tea stand where my event is. And then during game 2, he's like, okay, the boba tea stand has moved over slightly. I think we have enough space. I'm like, sweet. Game 3 against Emmett, I'm getting blown up again. Now there's a slushy stand too, and then we're in between both of them, and we don't have enough space. And I was just like, no. But luckily, I had tapped Paul from our Mortal Realms crew, who luckily was high enough on the ladder to where the message got directly where it needed to. And during our 4th round, my event got moved, in fact, to an entirely better location. And so my crew got set up there, and the game went super awesome. Was able to catch up with them after game 4. So yeah, it was, that was a factor for me as well. But the event went super great. Our Discord is going super awesome as well over there. That's cool.
Perfect.
Yep. And then as far as I go, it kind of similar to both of them. I was feeling a little crunched on time, which I've just found to be the case in the new edition. Feels like games take just a touch longer. So to get 3 in 2 hours is not a rush, but it's certainly, you got to be moving pretty good. So that was kind of thinking about going into day 2 with that, because I had the tie, and then one of my other rounds, I don't think we would have had time for a third if we had needed it. But obviously feeling good about where my record was at. And then I look on the table, and it looks like if they do the pairings, how you should do pairings with tournaments, I'll be playing Mark again the next day.
Oh boy.
So I already had a win against him earlier. So I'm like, I feel pretty good, but it's Mark. It's never going to be easy.
Yeah.
Were you seed 2 going?
I think I was 2. Yeah.
Seed 2. I think so too. And that was the result of our game. So, I think that there's actually still a world where you sneak into the bottom of the top 8 if our games go a different way. I'm not sure. I'm really glad that they went the way they did, and you ended up in the bracket. But it had this funny little side effect we'll talk about soon, where if I ended up in second, which I think I would have been after our game if I'd taken it, then I end up on a different side of the bracket, if you will. Teasing a story to come.
Yeah, and that just left me. Emmett and I did not make the cut. We were about the same. I think he ended up 1. I can't remember if he ended up 1-1-2 or 1-2-1. And I was 500 on the day. But there was less clarity about exactly what would be happening for us. But I was like, we'll show up. We'll play with anyone who's still there. It sounds like there's going to be games for seeding. What the TO was saying versus what the packet said weren't totally in sync, which is fine. But so we were happy, and kind of, not that I came into this with much pressure, but it was just like, all right, we can just go out there and enjoy whatever games, and I can root for my teammates. So that's what I took going in. That evening, we got to hang out a little bit. I got to talk to Gerard. He had some kind of amazing stories he was telling about going to Marquette and seeing the original manuscript, handwritten, for The Hobbit, and I think The Fellowship of the Ring is currently on display in Marquette. It's kind of a wild story he was telling. I'm
never gonna I'm always gonna have this memory of being in this by the slice pizza parlor, just listening to him talk about these documents ending up in a country that Token never stepped foot in Marquette University. It was he's a great storyteller to begin with, and this was really cool piece of history I had no idea about. So
yeah, very animated dude as far as that goes. That's always cool. Yeah. Anyway, that kind of launches us into day 2. Emmett and I get there, and for our part, we realize that we are going to be playing in. They're going to set up pods, basically. All the people who didn't make the cut but still want to play, they're going to assemble a pod and let us play. And they have a extra medal on the line. So that was something we could play for. And I got to play against Jonas. We were supposed to play for the number 3, number 4 for LVO in 2024, but it was at the end of so many game matches that he was like, I don't have it in me. So we're like, all right, cool. We'll just call it a tie, or just let it stand as it will. So I joked that this was our third place LVO game when we were playing it. So he, as has already been mentioned, was bringing the crushes, which I have not played against, and certainly not played against with Thundrick. And I was kind of leery because I was like, man, I do a lot of my work with these like little 1 damage attacks and stringing a bunch of them together. So you are going to be drowning in WA counters. So just attacks going all over the place. He also made an early run at Thundrick, and I managed to kind of like scamper away for just long enough to get barely out in the lead. And it was one of the plays I was proudest of at the end here is I needed to be on the token that he was very cleverly blocking to try and he had I think Thug was his only fighter left alive, and Thug was sitting on top of a treasure token to make sure I couldn't get stripped the realm. And I bled him out of as many walk counters as I could so that he would only have 1 shot at Shut It Pipsqueak when I walked up to confusion him off, and managed to get that to land the win. But just such a pleasant guy, such a wonderful conversation to just be able to chill and talk that out. So really, really good time. Really enjoyed that, which would, I think, lead it to Zach. Zach, what were you up to?
So as I mentioned, opponent I had already faced, Mark, again in the first round of the top 8 there. Coming in feeling pretty, I was like, well, if I can hit the right attacks at the right time, I feel like I can do some work, and then hopefully strip the realms, Tornland, anything I can deny out of his stuff. And let me tell you, best laid plans rarely survive contact, and I learned that lesson real hard. So came in, multiple kill shots on Kanan, couldn't get a success, and even when I did, he seemed to block it every single time. So just nothing rolling in either game, really, unfortunately. So he won those pretty handily. Yeah. So I wish I would have been able to at least give him a little bit tougher matchup, even if I didn't come out on top. But that happens. It's a dice game. It'll happen.
Yeah. So you ended up splitting your matches with Mark.
Yeah. Unfortunately. So overall, we went 2-2 against each other. I just happened to win the games that didn't matter. They
mattered for you getting into the second half, but you lost the important one.
I would have traded which ones we wanted if I could.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Brian, what'd you have for the first round of day 2?
First round of day 2, I had Lucas, the Jaws player. Mm-hmm. So this was a matchup that I was a bit worried on. Like typically elite aggro, I do pretty well in, because if you're coming in with a big heavy swing for 3+ damage, I'm not too chuffed about that. So wasn't too concerned. But I was like, okay, I don't want to underestimate this. Lucas was an unknown for me. And Jaws were like, I think I know, but I don't know for sure. And again, like you had said, he said he wasn't too familiar with what his opponents were bringing, and I was fortunate to have Pillage and Emberstone. So there was a couple times, like again, I walked him through all the Gardner stuff, similar to Robert. Let him know kind of where the red flags are, where the potential feel bads are. Give him a couple, like, I don't think this is going to go the way you think, and kind of let him, walk him through why. But game 1, that one felt really strong. Felt like it was weird. I was trying to hit the Jaws because I was like, it's still bounty, it's still glory. It helps reduce their capabilities and increases mine glory ceiling. So I was taking shots, but over the course of the 2 games, and both kind of went a similar way, where I was just doing my thing and scoring, and sometimes the Jaws hit just so hard, but he was rolling 4 dice swords and rolling a ton of hammers. And I was like, dude, you can roll outside of my dice tray if you want. I'm superstitious like that. He's like, no, it's a dice game. Totally fair. And he just kept rolling in my tray the whole time. I was like, dude, if I were you, I would really throw those outside of my dice tray. He's like, no, it's a dice game. I get good dice and I get bad dice. And this is about time I got some bad dice. But he was still getting like 1 or 2 successes. And I was just like, able to soak the damage, heal it away, and I was able to really control things quite a bit. Where I got a little lost in the sauce was when I was trying to all right, I'm teed up for 3 damage and I put great strength on him, so I'm going to go in for a 4 damage attack and try and take down one of your lizards. And of course, he, having Savage Mauling the whole time, is just like, yeah, man, go for it. I was just like, it really doesn't behoove me. I'm just doing this because I'm just trying to take a pot shot. But I felt like I had a control on the game, and I was really probably underestimating Savage Mauling entirely. But I would try to make a shot. No successes. And he's like, man, I'm really sorry for you. And I was like, in retrospect, Savage Mauling was really appealing to him. And especially with the tournament ruling that we've found out, and it makes sense, is that each instance of damage that they would be able to do for Savage Mauling would be a separate inspire for them. And he didn't necessarily need the help. He wound up inspiring most of the lizards most of the time. Because I would take shots at him, and every time I got bit, every time I attacked him and I missed, and he would just roll a success, it bit me. Normally they don't get to bite like that because offense dice normally have 3+ attacks, but 3+ dice, and you're going to get a success there, and it's not a great prospect for them to get that bite back. But man, every time I was like, you know what? It's 4 damage. I just can't resist. He's like, yeah, go for it. And I'd roll no success and bite. And I'm like, okay, that's me told off. I'm gonna listen. I'm not gonna do that anymore. I don't need it. I don't need to be doing this, but I just wanted to.
I have learned my lesson.
And I learned that lesson 4 times. So ultimately, over the course of the 2 games, I was just scoring my deck, and he was at the mercy of the aggro dice, and which my deck is built to mitigate. So I was able to reduce his ability to score by just doing the things that I normally do. I didn't need to swing at him. Every time I swung into it, I regretted it, and it was counterproductive to my efforts because I could just outscore him even when he was able to get successful attacks and bring me down. That there was one moment where his unfamiliarity to the deck really showed. I just walked Phlegmus next to Crowjack, who is just tooled up on the center objective in No Man's Land. And I was just like, and for my final activation, I will walk. He's like, you finally learned your lesson. I was like, mm-hmm. He's like, well, I'm going to swing at you. And I was like, uh-huh. And swung at me, did a massive amount of damage, and I was just like, and I'm barely hanging in there because of the heal, and I was like, and confusion. And he's like, oh, I was like, yeah, I don't think I would have gotten away with that if you were a little more aware of the decks. And I was just like, and that got a bunch of points, but I had it in hand. My final game, I was just walking. That was game 1, and game 2 was just walking away with Phlegmus because I was just like, I finally learned I don't need to be making swings for no point. I would just walk away with Phlegmus, and I took that one. Still, the glory differential wasn't huge spread, but it was just a consistent, significant lead through the games. So ended up taking that one against Jaws pretty well, bloody, but pretty well in hand.
Well, nice. While Brian was doing that, what were you up to, Skyler?
Yeah, so this was the day 2 starter rematch, George versus Skyler. And Zach, you broke the curse. I was able to get through George. I didn't lose my first game of day 2 like I normally enjoy doing. At least it looks like. Look at the data. I must enjoy it. No,
I think I may have taken your curse into my game with Mark. So,
well, it transfers, so it's yours now. Enjoy.
No give backs.
But the first game was extremely close. This was a really fun, cagey mental game. So it ends 16-15. To just throw that out at the start, but we play away from each other. I think it was a 9s situation in the middle, if I recall correctly. That could be wrong. But at the most, we stay as far away from each other as possible at the beginning of the game. And we kind of play a bit of chicken. He even spends some sort of resources, whether a turn or a card, to push into an edge hex that's the absolute furthest away edge hex from me with his leader to just keep a foot down on stay close, and I don't want to get close to him because I don't want him to be able to gang up with any push tech or anything like that and start stabbing me and inspiring. I don't want his damage to get out of control because they have 2 fighters that can get up to 3 damage once they inspire, on top of the fact that they can start just doing a move over to you and then stabbing you. So I'm like trying to really respect this warband that I don't know very well because I imagine George is going to be playing it to its fullest. And the first game is where I had the cool moment. I got Barge in round 2, and I think I had Strip in hand already, but I wanted to. He was on 1 token in center. No, I didn't have Strip. I had Alone in the Dark. Yes, correct. I had Alone in the Dark in hand, and I went second. So I Barge the 1 token in center, and he has a fighter that is vulnerable. So I could just take a shot at this. In fact, vulnerable and staggered. Could take a shot at just killing them and probably securing myself Alone in the Dark. But I was hoping that if I barged this and he had sidestep, it was one of the tools I hadn't seen yet, that I'd pull it out. And it would cost me Alone in the Dark in this moment, but I really wanted to pull any of his movement out of his power hand. Sure. So either I'm scoring Alone in the Dark or I'm getting sidestep out. And he had sidestep, so he uses that. And then in round 3, I have Strip the Realm. And with this caginess that we have, I put myself forward on the 2 tokens that he could reach that he wasn't on. And so I have 2 body blockers on the 2 tokens he can reach, saying, these aren't for you. 2 behind me that he can't get to. And so he's just got the 1. And I'm just trying to maintain that pressure throughout the course of the game, or the course of round 3, so that I can barge that token. I'm going second here. I actually won that war roll off and chose to go second here, and barge him off of that token and grab Strip the Realm. And it plays out that way. So that felt really good. And like, credit to him, 16-15 at the end there. Like, I only eke it out because of that Strip the Realm play. Like, he was able to, with me being super cagey, still hit 15, right? And I'm technically behind if I can't get this strip play lined up. But I was really happy with the decision to try to pull that sidestep out with a barge in round 2. And then I kind of hinged to that if he won the roll off, he would want to go first. And then if I won the roll off, it was going to be a hard choice. And I ended up winning it and going second there. So that was really cool. That would be like the game I'd want to highlight from that set. The second game was, sometimes when I'm playing them, they are accurate enough where if you get enough hits to start landing, you can push the advantage in an aggro way. And that was game 2. Was the hits, I would make these like probing hits to see how they would land, and I'd have like backup plans to like teleport my fighter out or teleport somebody in to like continue on the aggression. And it was a game where I was able to just press the aggression. I think I near tabled him. I think he had 1 left at the end. I don't think I tabled him, but it was a couple of his models down real fast, and then I was just able to press that. So, but it was a good set, and I'm sure it's not the last time that George and I will wake up and play each other on a second day.
Fair enough. Down at the constellation bracket, second round, for the second Grand Clash in his short Grand Clash career, my son gets to play me. So we faced off.
Wouldn't be a Grand Clash without it.
It was really awesome. It was this thing where, he tries real hard. There's a lot to consider in the game. And so I'd sometimes be looking over, I'm like, oh, he's sucking on his lip. Is he, like during other games, but he was kind of chipper through the whole event. I was pretty proud of him. And then we got this, and I was like, well, I'm going all out. We've played this a bunch at home. And I know this is really close. I'm not pulling any punches here. He's got to earn it, and he definitely earned it. It was the worst match loss I took all weekend. I went 0-2, and neither of them were particularly close. I think I kept it within 3 or 4 in one of them, and then it was one of those where like, yeah, it was close, but it was never in doubt sort of thing. So, hats off to my son. It did generate quite an entertaining amount of chatter in the Discord, where I was joking that exactly like you said earlier, I could have lost like this in the comfort of my own home. So that was good, and it was really fun to see him riding high after that. That was what I did. Zach, you had a game for positioning, and this mattered for like where you might end up overall. So these are still important games, even if you did not have a shot at number 1 anymore. Who are you playing in the next round?
Yeah, so we found out at the start of the round, or just after the end of the other round, that we were going to do full Swiss on day 2 for the top 8 cut, and there was some confusion as to whether or not the games from the day before counted as well. So if those there was still, I was like, I can still get the top. I just need Skyler to go through and win, and then he can give me that ticket. But no, so I ended up, it ended up not being the case. So this was just for positioning lower down. But I ended up playing George, which I was a little surprised by, because normally when you do a bracket, you would think with the way the seeds matched up that I should have been playing somebody else. But obviously, you did Swiss, and you go through that. And we had some super close games. Game 1, he played KG, as you do with Dagok against Headsman, and just waited for me to come in and I think hit 5 or 6 stabs in a row, and I was just like, well, I guess we're playing that game. So he ended up taking it just by 1, so I'm feeling pretty good going to the next one. And then the next one, I had, I think, my play, which was the play of the day, which is just went over and I said, I'm going to score set explosives, and you've walked with your people instead of charge, so I'm just going to go over here and guarantee that. And then ended up taking that game from him. And then the third game, I killed 3 of them, and then was like, I need to get the wielder out of here. He's got 1 health left. And I had not considered that he hadn't used Canny Sapper yet, and that could go into my territory.
Oh.
And it just got to a point where it's like, well, I'm just going to have to crit defend here. And sure enough, he rolled in, get 2 hits, and I roll a crit and a dodge. I'm like, well, now I'm next to you and I can kill Dagok. So,
oh boy,
Dice bailed me out in the last one. But that goes the other way, and suddenly he's taken game 3. So I ended up taking it from him 2-1 with a pretty even glory differential by the end of it. So feeling good for my shot at like 3rd or 5th place or wherever I ended up being.
Nice. Brian,
Yep.
Skyler, what happened?
Yeah, who are you guys playing?
Now we begin the trial.
Yeah.
Of how I was wronged. I was I helped this man prep for tournament the whole time, but it was exactly like what I said and feared in my Dear Diary. I was playing a lot against Bobby and Skyler and a few other of our locals, and I was like, if anybody's going to take me down, I'll bet it's going to be one of these guys, because as I said, the Gardeners really reward somebody having studied them and know exactly how to take them down. And
studied have.
Studied they have, and I need to keep my mouth shut because when we got paired up against each other, it was immediately like, of course, all right. And there was some emotions, and I was just like, no, man, it's just another practice game. We're just at a really cool venue.
He said that.
I did say also, I'm like, I will not give you any like aid in my gardener's tech. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, you sure you want to do that? And you could have given me a little bit of leniency, because like you were just dissecting me the whole time. I was like, I'm not going to give away his tech, because I'm not going to give away any more tech. Like, nah. Because, my God, I felt like the frog on the platter just getting dissected. The way you dove, you know who, and took him out each game. I was able to. I was proud that this, of all my games, this was the one series that went to 3 games. I took game 1 from him, and then it was just dissection table and formaldehyde from there on. He would just the fighter that you would target first. I was just like, no way, and I did my tech to try and not allow that to happen, and you're just like, I'm putting all of it into killing that guy. I was like, you sure are, and I can't stop it. And then from that point on, it was like reading me like a book, and just like, yeah, I remember the liver, then the kidney, then I was game 2. I will say I was having a lot. The dice were not helping, and then game 3 was just the surgeon on full display. I was at the surgical theater, and all the students were taking the notes, and I'm like, nobody help me. But yeah, it was good games. Skyler had the practice, and he took me down with precision. There was one moment in game 3. I don't think it would have mattered, but we recognized it. I recognized it in the moment. I was like, shoot, I should have used confusion there, but I had to pocket it for my end phase. And I was like, but I thought he had already gotten broken prospects. And then he's like, delve. And I was like, that was it. That's it. That's the moment. I don't know if I confusion there, if I would have still been able to score my end phase and make a difference, but that's when it was just out of reach, I think.
Yeah, I remember that being a particularly tense moment. I said, anything more you want to do? And you said pass, and I said delve. Yeah. And then the urgency with which he said delve, I was like, that was it. I done goofed. I done messed up. So finding out that we're paired against each other, it didn't add up, but at the same time, that was the assignment given, and so we were disappointed to meeting now and not being on other sides of this bracket, and maybe meeting up in a match, which would have been just...
Our ideal was to be in the finals and hash this out there.
It would have been wonderful. But so there's a lot of emotion going into it, and I go up to him and I say, I love you, man. I'm going to play my heart out. I hope you take this. And in practice, I would say when we did best of 3s in practice, 70-80% of the time he takes it. So I think that sure, I felt like I was operating on all cylinders, but there's always a bit of luck in here, like card order and things like that were working against Brian and helping push the advantage of being on all cylinders on my side. Game 1,
your banter was so cut. Like you were just like infrared vision on, predator chirping. What is that? Like it's in the trees.
And game 1, he destroyed me, and I knew that I needed to do something different for game 2. So I gave him my favorite board.
No, I didn't destroy you. Like I had a please can I takes backs on this delve bit with like Phlegmus and the Fly, and I did that flip, and you let me do the takes back. And then when game 2 and game 3 happened, I was like, it's because the takes backs. Karma's a bitch.
Well, I felt that you had the match well in hand in game 1, and game 2, I was like, how do I make this different? And I handed him the black text side of the board, and there's a position I like giving them where it's like if I'm looking at the board, then my top left, so their right side, they have a wing of 3 tokens, and they're kind of a bit back. I love handing my opponents that side of the board, and I handed it to him. And he was like, "Oh, gross! I don't think I'm used to deploying on this side of the board."
Yeah, that was nasty.
And we tried
did me
something
dirty with that one. Zach, I need your article on boards.
Working on it.
And we tried something different, the both of us, with token placements, and it put me in a position where for game 2 I was able to play bouncer. And when I would apply force to bounce them out, the force would hit. And so it was one of those games where I was able to push the aggression because it just kept working.
Yeah, so I didn't actually record our third game, but it was like 15-13 was the first game that I had air quotes well in hand. And then game 2, we reached a point where it was I had 6 and you were in the lead. And then the judge came around and said, 30 minutes remaining in the round. And I said, concede, let's get to game 3.
Yeah.
Because I only had 6 points and you had probably 12 at that point. And so,
yeah, we had enough where the judge had made a ruling where it was score out what you could reasonably score out.
Right.
Once an opponent concedes. So I end that one reasonably scoring out at 19 to 6. And for the third game, 18-12 is what takes it there. And that's the game where you accused me of dismantling you.
Yeah, that I definitely felt dismantled on.
All right. It was an incredible set, and it's a shame it had to happen there and not a round later.
Right. Still, I said that this was the game to figure out who is at least the big deuce, because at worst one of us would be second place, and so 'twas not I.
Yeah. So what the heck's in the finals? Regardless of how that goes.
That is the one thing I had time to come over and say to you guys, because you're kind of bummed out playing each other. I was like, hey guys, guaranteed what the heck's into the finals. So
right.
Take that with you. We'll wrap up the other games.
Yeah, and that's coming from a Davy in day 2 with his tracksuits. Him and Emmett paired up.
That's true.
Tracksuits.
Yeah.
So that was
don't forget the bandanas.
Yeah. I brought Emmett a matching bandana for his shirt, and he rocked it all day long. It was pretty awesome. So my last one, I got to play Addie. It was awesome. She was super friendly. Really enjoyed it. She was Beast Grabbers. I thought I had that matchup worked out well. Ended up tying it 1-1, but had just a really great game to finish it out. So that was super cool. Zach, you were all in on trying to scrape up as much of a ranking as you could. What did you play for your last round?
Yeah, I'm just trying to see how far I can get after submarine my way into there. Yeah. But I got, I believe the one that was the victor in the Jesse on Jesse matchup earlier in the top 8. So he was playing Drom, just another one that I was built to beat. And when the dice work for you too, it goes pretty good to take out the Gore Hulk in a ping in a 5 damage attack. Turns out that's a pretty good strategy if you can pull it off.
Low return on investment for Blood Tide there as well. So.
That's right. Yep. So I took him down just by a pretty good margin in the 2 games. But that was the guy we had seen him at the narrative, and I kept running into him all weekend. So I was teasing him a little bit. Says, "So I'm going to see you Sunday, right? I'm going to see you Sunday." And he kept going, "No, don't think I'm going to make it, but we'll come hang out." And then sure enough, he gets into the top 8, and had a shot at going to the finals. So excellent job by him all day, even though he didn't think he'd quite get there. But great opponent, great guy.
Yeah. Let's see. That left Brian. What was your penultimate or your final match, I should say?
My final match was against. I know it. Oh, Jesse Van Wyck with Thricefold Discord. From the East Coast. So I was happy to play against him. We probably played once before, but this stood out to me because him and Craig had made the trip. So I always appreciate people coming to our neck of the woods. So yeah, Jesse had the Thricefold. I knew that this was a spicy combo. I had played it in testing once before, and he as well had not studied up on gardeners, so I gave him the brief, and then when we started playing, I was really able to leverage the gardeners, and he had the frustration that you have all shared and experienced in terms of the gardener's ability to shrug off massive blows from guys like Vexmore, and being able to really leverage that. So that was a game where I kind of had a commanding lead and was kind of I don't want to dishonor or disservice any of my opponent's play, but it's a learning curve that really like there's so many facets to it that it's a challenge if it's your first time playing against them, and I was able to kind of like enjoy myself and really leverage it.
Yeah.
It felt like the tables had turned on the Slanesh there. The Slanesh felt the despair, and I was getting the joy of playing with him. But he was a great opponent, and we finished it out. I spent the time kind of teaching him my tips and tricks, and the nasty situations. He got the great scortitude. And basically, we finished that game. It was 19-16. So again, like second edition really makes games feel closer than they can feel in the game. Like the glory, it feels, I don't know. It's the games are more interesting and it feels like I had a lead, but he was still able to score. So it's like you stay in the game in second edition. It's really cool. But by the end of it, he was like, he had a flight to catch. He didn't really want to spend time playing a second game that he felt he already knew the conclusion of. So we just played the one, submitted that for our score with my victory. And then we got to spend more time interacting with the people who had also wrapped up, as well as observing Skyler's game.
Nice. Well, Skyler, it's over to you.
Yeah. Against Mark, this is a match. This is a rematch that we had at Worlds. I don't know if his pairing was any different now than it was at Worlds, or if it was just more practiced. It might have been the same pairing, but I could be misspeaking there. He was playing Blazing and Countdown this time around. Mine was different, playing Pillage and Rack now, where I was playing Pillage and Reckless before. This is a really cool moment. I've never felt pressure, performance pressure in competition like this ever. Like this is my first time I've ever done something that I wanted so badly for myself, and felt like the stakes were there. Like getting to a final table at Adepticon. Frankly, just getting to podium at Adepticon was something I've always wanted to do. And now that I'm here, there are so many reasons I want to win this set. And I hope, going into it, I'm going to play to my fullest. There's 6 matches behind me of Brain Burn. And I think a little of that seeps in. But I just wanted to speak to, like, I've never felt like that performance stress before. Like so many thoughts just kept seeping in and changing, like, the composition of this match for me. Instead of just enjoying a game with Mark, which I've enjoyed before, both competitively and outside of events, Mark's one of the best. And so I'm in my head. I want to win this for a warband I love, for the paint that Trace put on it, to approve myself moments. Katie and I are looking to start a family, so I don't know how many Adepticons are, or like tournaments in general. I'm gonna have a shot at this, and I'm here right now. This is my shot, and this is Milwaukee, and this is What the Hex versus Path to Glory, and that in itself is fun because we've kind of made it fun. We want to take Adepticon back from them, if you will, for ourselves. Yeah. And I'm feeling all this. I'm feeling the folks gathered around watching and talking. Somebody bumps into me during the game. Brian thankfully asks him to give me some space after that. The judge is to my right, constantly checking the time, because like our first game took an hour. We're into that second game, and I don't even know if we're going to get to play a third game, but my dice are abandoning me, and I'm feeling behind, and so this is just all mounting to a lot of pressure. I just kind of wanted to, like, set the stage that I've never felt this way before, and I'm glad for the opportunity, and I don't win this, and that's okay. And I've never experienced falling from what felt like falling. Like it felt more like losing than winning. Coming in second because I was so close. And I've just never had the exercise of coming back from a moment like that. So I was more bummed than excited. And if you looked at me even a year ago and told me that I was going to take second at Adepticon next year, I'd be cheering for, the version of me that gets to do that. Like that is something I've wanted. So I guess with all that emotional preamble, let me tell you a little bit about the games. Just some small moments from them. The first game, Mark wins the roll-off. And so I get to grab my card and he gets to go first. We are positioned where it feels more like a long board again. So it's the nines in the center. We're playing as far away from each other as possible. Very similar to how George and I set up in the morning. There's only one token in the middle, and there's two back in his camp, two back in my camp. I've put mine away from the stagger hex.
Violent blast hexes.
I don't want violent blast to hit, and I don't want a Kanan to just appear there and cause me some misery. So that was important during my placements, was to make sure that I was trying to avoid that. Important for him during his placements was putting them in the back where it's going to be hard for me to reach in without overcommitting. I put somebody up. So I've got three fighters in the back. Like nobody's getting to me. Like I'm just going to probably play this one pretty passive, but I put one fighter up front to help me tempo set. He's off to the left. I want to see if anybody's going to come in and bother with him. He can just reach the winged token that's away from the rest of his group. And so he takes that first turn. He moves Kenta onto that winged token, and that allows him to do his Mortek Advance. And he does so and shows his practice, shows his expertise with this warband, where I'm able to juggle all of the Mortek, so that now I'm on the other two objectives, the one in center, the one next to Kanan, and again, that one that's winged off where Kent is hanging out. And we get to power, and I think to myself, I can't remember if I'm 4 or 5 away. I think I'm 5 away, and I've got great speed in hand. That could not be the case, but I think it is. They all blur together a little bit, don't they? Yeah. But I'm waiting to see if he's going to delve with Kenta. And he does, and he passes to me. And I think I put down great speed at this time. If I didn't, then I could just already reach already. But I think I put down great speed, and he was kind of like, he kind of giggled and was like, "Okay, I see what you're doing here. Go ahead." So passes turn. So my first turn, I run Gallahan up to Kenta, and I throw down Vicious Intent. And I'm like, let's tempo set. I'm going to throw 4 dice looking for hammers at this staggered Kenta. And I'm already thinking to myself, if I hit this and kill him, which I pretty much think is assured in my brain, I was like,
I might sweet summer child.
I might even choose to go aggressive, teleport my leader in, because I'm also sitting on a Canny Sapper Getaway in my hand.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I might even teleport my leader into this token now that it's cover and just hope on 2 defense dice. I roll those 4 dice. I get single, double. And I just look at Mark, and I think he even said something like, "Wow." And then I grab the reroll, roll that, get a double. And I just my brain breaks, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I will use my faction teleport and crack myself back. Now, the backup plan here is that puts me on a feature token safely in my territory and lets me start delving. I've got probably delving for wealth or whatever in hand. But the rest of the game kind of goes that way, where anytime I tried to make any significant attacks, I couldn't land them. Kanan eventually does spawn in on that that stagger hex and does some head cleaning. So I remember losing that game in a way where I actually said right at the end of it, we had probably most of round 3 left. I was like, I'm going to concede. Let's move forward. But we realized like at that point in time, there wasn't much left to it. So we just quickly ran through game 1. And then game 2, I give him the board I gave Brian, and I try to essentially like break up his forces by having them spread out wide. But ultimately, there's some misses on Kanan again. I just can't touch him as much as I try. It felt like Zach was back with the wielder, and he was just cosplaying as Kanan. I just could not hit this guy. Whenever I would take like the setup shots, to try to take him down later. But the moment that will live in my head from this match, this is a testament to Mark. There's no other player in the game with a poker face like Mark's, period. I had no idea that Mark was only going to score 1 point at the end of round 3 of game 2. I'm at 9 points. He's at 10. And he's gotten most of his from kills. I even during round 3 decided I thought I was behind. I looked at his cards in his discard, and they were all oneers. And I was like, oh, snap. I haven't seen any of his 2 glory stuff. And I'm kind of brain burnt right now. I'm not 100% sure how much setup he's done to score these, but I think he's going to have some 2-point glories coming through here. Because he's been like more tech advancing and being able to delve and things like that. And I was just thinking like, I think he's going to have a really good hand here. And so instead of backing off and playing passively in this third, which I thought about because I still had 2 fighters alive, I press and I lose another fighter in that pressing. And that's what puts us at this. I'm at 9, he's at 10. And I've got 2 turns left. I trap cash one of his Mortec that's on a token, and I need to kill this Mortec because it's blocking Alone in the Dark. It's standing on a token that's near edge, blocking Alone in the Dark with one behind it, adjacent to it, blocking Stay Close. And so I trap cash that one, and I think to myself, I'm going to move onto one of the tokens that can see this fighter, and I'm going to give him the choice. Like, what are you going to do with your final turn? Is it going to be more tech advance this one out of that position? Or for my final turn, are you going to give me a shot at it? And I didn't have a backup plan for what that final turn would look like if he did that shot. I was probably going to focus, but I don't think I needed to at that time. So I'm kind of grasping at straws here because Mark is playing with such an awesome poker face. And it turns out he comes in with a Kenta charge, which allows him the more tech advance and to switch around. The charge doesn't work out for him. So I've kind of got this dead final activation where I use it to focus, but it's because I feel like I've already lost. And if I had instead on my second to last turn moved, there was another token that had the same vantage and the same advantages of being away from Kanan, which was really what I was trying to do. If I'd gone to that one instead, it was the 5.
Oh no.
And I went to the 2, both having the same game plan.
Yeah.
But I didn't like stop to think, what if this goes to tiebreakers? And so I didn't think to like pick them up and look at the underneath. I just went for the one that was the first one I spotted that worked with the game plan I was developing.
Yeah.
And so I'm hanging out on this 2. I haven't realized that maybe instead of focusing, I could move again. I can move to that 5. And so I focus, grasping at straws, and we go to score. He scores 1 point. I score Torn Landscape for 2, and he wins it. He's on the 4 with that, with one of his Mortec, and I'm on the 2. So that's how this series ends. And now when I go to bed at night, my brain asks me, but what if you'd move to that 5?
What about that 5?
I've just been slowly sending Skyler Sesame Street the count memes and gifs.
5 floating over his head.
Yeah.
Monty Python, Holy Grail. 1, 2, 5. 3, 3.
So had I played a little more clear-headed in that moment, gave myself a second to center, maybe I tie that game, and maybe we're allowed to take it to a third. I imagine they would let us take it to a third. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
very likely.
The timeline we're in, I don't do that. And Mark and his poker face and all of the skill and practice he's put into Kanan wins the day. And congratulations, Mark. You gave me a hell of a set. It's always a pleasure to play against you. And I'm glad that I'm glad that's your ticket and that you get to go to Worlds again. So well done. And I guess for the listeners out there, this was something I added to the Adepticon energy. Before Adepticon, I got an email, and I kept the secret until Adepticon because I wanted to share it there with the crew. But I haven't shared it with you yet. I got an email from GW inviting me back to Worlds this year for making it to the top 16 last year. So I get to go. So I thought maybe going into that set against Mark, that would pull some of that pressure and nerves that I talked about out of the picture, knowing like this isn't the ticket. This is just everything else you've assigned. But it didn't do that. And Thomas, so Saxton, for those who know him as that, also received that email. So
nice.
Look forward to seeing us both at Worlds this next year.
Woo.
Yeah. Woo.
That's really cool of GW to have done that. Yeah, I remember running it. There was a confusion about that, and I'm glad that they decided to go, you know what? They earned it too.
Yeah. It was weird. I didn't think that top 16 landed me that, just with the way that Leaving Worlds landed. It sounded like they had decided it was just going to be the 4 people that graduated from each of the pods into the championship bracket. And it was like, oh, dang, like, you know, like I'm still proud that I was able to crack into the top 16 and perform as well as I did in the world bracket. But man, I really thought, you know, that would be an invite back. And I spent, you know, 5 months ish, 4 or 5 months, just thinking that I didn't have an invite back and thinking, you know, Adepticon might be my only shot at it. And so right before Adepticon to get that email, that was really cool.
Well, and for those that like might not understand or grasp the difficulty there is like after that cut, you know, the top 4 from each pod going into the finals, you know, they're fighting for the trophy, but everybody's still expected to play games meanwhile. And it's like, if not for top 16 spots, then what else are they playing for? Granted, there's country points, you know, as they try and make it like the Olympics for Warhammer, but putting invites to come back on the line, I think adds a lot more weight to those games to keep playing your heart out to your full extent afterwards. And, you know, we saw players that were like, you know what, I already made the top 8, so I'm good, and they just kind of coasted or didn't give it their effort. But it's like that's not really cool for your opponent, like who traveled, and you know this is their big event, versus those that are there to like, yeah, man, like great to meet you. We might have met online or played against each other online, but now we get to, you know, do it in the flesh. And I really, really like that move from GW to reward those continued plays and to make the world ranking of like the top 16 matter in a more significant way. So I really, really like that.
That's cool. Well, gentlemen, I want to go around the horn. What's next for you? And you know, what give me a takeaway from Adepticon, be it the whole thing or the Grand Clash specifically, and then give the listeners an idea what's kind of next for you Underworlds wise. And I guess we'll keep that same order. We'll start with me. one takeaway is that it was real fun having coordinated outfits with Emmett. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Swaggering around with those. And then he won the consolation bracket. So he got to bring hardware home, which was really awesome. There's a picture of him with the other medal winners. That would be.
Yeah, we had a really fun trophy picture.
Everybody else on this call.
Except
You'll
you.
get there one day, Davey. You'll get there one day.
Yeah.
You're the one that got us here.
It was really awesome. I had no idea how it was going to go for him. I thought he might be too ragged from all the extra traveling, and we had a great time, the two of us. So I really came out of that pretty happy, and then but wishing I'd kind of brought it a little harder. So that's my next thing is taking some hard looks at what I can do to kind of help. It's not just for me, but like to help the rest of our community get some like more quality reps, see if I can grind that out. So I started out with building a Monologue deck and looking back at my Grimwatch deck.
Helping?
Yeah. And so I got one practice game in today, which was Monologue into Grimwatch, which was actually super fun. Real close Polish fella that kept it within 2. I don't know. It was really good. I again and again I'll play a game. It'll be a new matchup or even a matchup I've done before, and I'll just be like, that was really, really fun game. Still love this game. So we're still figuring out if we can make Nova. It's a question mark, and then we got to figure out what's happening for Worlds. Still waiting on some communication from GW if we're going to be there to provide coverage. But what about you, Zach?
Just really pumped that I was able to get to another Adepticon here and do so well between all the days and just meet so many great people, and just had an absolute blast at everything. Glad it's in Milwaukee now. Easier to get back and just pass out after 4 days of gaming. But as far as what's coming up here, I'm hoping to get one last write-up for this section of my my articles on the Mortal Realms website. Get some recap of this tournament, the local tournament and everything. And then pivot and see where the next big tournament I get to is. I'm looking at some of those Canadian ones and thinking about going back up there and seeing if I can take one of their tickets, but still not confirmed anything yet. And then the Q2 tournament in Madison and potentially Nova as well.
Nice. Brian, what's next for you?
Yeah, for locals, like I don't want to just constantly throw the Gardener's disgustingness at them all the time, so I'm trying to find something that's a little lighter affair. I just had a really bad game with them, but the Loon Court disappointed me once again. I had one successful attack. I dislike them. They are like I don't know. Like, I have this love-hate relationship.
Wants to like them.
I want to love you, but let me love you. But why do you disappoint me all the time? Oh man, I don't know. I want to paint them, but because I did so much work on the conversions. But man, as a warband, I'm dissatisfied with their performance. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm probably gonna begrudgingly paint them just so that they're pretty, but. I gotta figure out some way to have fun with it.
Yeah.
When you have bad moments with them, you can go, at least you're pretty.
I know, and but it's like setting myself up for doom for failure, and I'm trying not to hold Emmett hostage at the playground locker. But anyway, like Zach, I'm actually trying to mobilize some teams now that we know the results from Adepticon, and mobilize some Canadian raiding teams. We'll see what happens and fully manifest from that, whether I'm just organizing or if I'm participating. My wife's being extremely supportive and not talking me off the cliff, so that's not helping. So maybe you'll see me somewhere.
Some people call that enabling, but carry on.
I love my wife. She's very supportive and very undeserving of the level of support. But that's also very... I'm just so enthralled with what I got cooking with Gardeners that I want to spend more time on them. And also, more importantly, because I'm not participating in the Q2 event, I helped secure our ticket. it feels icky to me to then compete for the ticket. So I'm TOing the event. And I think we're going to have Skyler on the stream for the event. So I'll let that segue into what he's up to.
That is exactly what I was going to jump in with is that, so next up is I'm really looking forward to streaming Q2. TBD on if it's going to be live streamed or if it's going to be something that I record and broadcast after the fact. Obviously, I'd love to live stream it. We ran into some internet issues last year, so I'm going to try to make this experience better, both from an internet standpoint and a like graphics or what have you. So expect some improvements over the formula last year. That's what I'll be working on probably from now until Q2. Nova is a question mark for me as well. I'd really like to go if I can make that happen this year. Worlds on the horizon. More elves in my future. You can be assured that I can't put Ilthari's Guardians down. I've already tried since Sunday, and I just wanted to play them again.
Perfect.
But the one thing I need to mention that is coming up for me is shipping these gorgeous Gravebreakers back to Jake of Goonhammer. And I almost let this episode go without calling out what he did. I was between Gravebreakers. I think I might have said this on your diary, but it deserves to be said. I was between Gravebreakers and Ilthari's, and I just struck up a conversation with Jake. And I told him, I was like, well, if I'm going to take Gravebreakers, I got to figure out how to make paint happen. And that's a short window. So maybe that puts them out of the picture entirely. And he was just like, I'm sending them to you now. I'm shipping them right now to you. And I was like, Jake, hold on. Like, I don't even know if I'm actually going to play them. And he's like, doesn't matter. He's like, you can borrow them as long as you want. And this way, you're not making a decision off of what has paint on it. You're making a decision off of what you want to play.
Very cool.
So thank you a ton, Jake. And I'll get those in the mail back to you.
Well, all right. I think the one thing I wanted to mention that we didn't was what a cool top 8 / I think all the way down, you said to 13 before there was a repeat.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So
yeah, no duplicate warband until the 13th spot.
Yeah, that's super cool. I heard a number of times from the fellow I played today, from Jonas, about how the European meta is very different than ours. So that'll be cool to see that come together again at Worlds today and see, now that we've had more than 0 minutes to work on the second edition of the game, it'd be real interesting to see what Worlds cooks up as. So, yeah. What's coming next from us? Some of that, we may do some more discussion on that. We'd like to get you a bat rep. I think we're a little overdue for one of those. And who knows when the next release is? It feels like it's been a second. So there may or may not be something coming there. We'll see what happens. Last time around the horn, anybody got anything else before we kind of outro it?
Good outro.
All right. Well, you know where to get in touch with us. Email is a good place to do it. But an even better is the Discord. We've got lots of folks on there and chatting. And if you want to go there for a whole bunch of bad Ilthari's puns and jokes about how my son is better than me at the game, then that's the place to go. So I think at one point I disowned my son on that thread.
Can confirm.
Is that why you're leaving him at the park?
Yeah, exactly.
I really hope that you get there to pick him up. He's like, is this about Adepticon?
We are part of the bigger Mortal Realms network. You can get all our stuff at themortalrealms.com. That includes our blogs, new releases, and everything that Zach's putting out. We've already talked about what we got coming up next. And gentlemen, you know what time it is. It is Flavatex quiz time. Your only hint is that this is going to be slightly easier for Skyler and Brian. This is a quote attributed to Vasilak the Gifted. What is the point in a glorious triumph if there is no one around to appreciate it?
Prideful duelist. I got it, Brian.
All right, time to height stepping. Well, for finally getting one ahead of Brian, we're gonna say that you're more than famous. You're infamous, and that is a track by Baja Bulat, who I got to go see last night with the wife as a let's do something. Since Baja Bulat, she's a Canadian indie folk singer, pop rock sort of thing. So really good. It was an amazing show. Really awesome. At the Majestic, more intimate than you'd expect. Seats,
it's a small theater. I get it.
Yeah. All right. Well, for What the Hex, I've been Davy.
And I'm out of Brian's pocket. I mean, I'm Skyler.
Get back in there. I've been Brian.
I've been Zach.
See you at Adepticon 2026.
Welcome to What the Hex, your source for Warhammer Underworlds and under 30 waking hours in a row of Underworlds in a single convention. I'm your co-host, Davy, and with me I have my battle-hardened co-hosts, Skyler. How are you, Skyler? Muted, perhaps?
Bro.
Originally we thought maybe this was a happenstance of Swiss, but looking at how you would seed a bracket, it makes total sense. First versus eighth, Brian versus Lucas. Oh wait, sorry, Zach.
No, I was say second round. It should have been if I had won, me playing Brian instead of
you. Think so?
We were doing because it should have been so. First round you do 1 versus 8, 2, 7, yada yada, and then the second round it would be the winner of 1-8 versus the winner of 4-5, and then the winner of 2-7 versus the winner of 3-6, which would have put Brian and I's match up against each other. So Brian should have played Mark if we were doing a straight bracket.
Well, if Brian kicked the day off in first,
no, the Jesse.
I'm going to cut this short. First. I don't think this is going to be interesting listening.
Probably not. But it should have been